get started. Good afternoon. Happy Halloween. I hope you're excited for Halloween this weekend and even just as excited for the speeches we have today from Nate Hall and Charlie Hodgkins. We have the pleasure of hearing them live, as well as their advisors are going to introduce them live. So we're going to start with Nate Hall first and his advisor, Mr. Swift. So Mr. Swift, whenever you're ready, you can introduce your advisee, Nate.
Thanks, Mr. Stein. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Josh Smaller Swift, and it's my pleasure to introduce my advisee, Nate Hall. So Nate came to Berkeley Carroll in 9th grade, and many of you know Nate from his successes on the basketball court, as well as for his design-oriented artwork. So today we have the opportunity to hear from Nate as he shares his senior speech with us. Please help me welcome Nate.
Thank you for the warm welcome. After dominating the scene at Brooklyn Heights Montessori School as Mr. Mabry's prodigal son and winning a basketball championship with my captains Gabby Pareto and Johnny Kervin, I entered high school a nervous teen with a cluttered mind. This may be obvious to most, as I was a new freshman joining a new and intimidating environment. My primary motivation when joining an already tightly knit community was establishing myself socially. But in retrospect, I really didn't have a broad sensibility of who I was at the time. Entering my community for the coming years, I was looking forward to reinventing myself in order to be more socially comfortable and confident. The problem was that I was too focused on my social standing without building an understanding of myself. Rather than taking time to explore what our community had to offer and building my identity from the ground up, I convinced myself that a vague list of somewhat unfulfilling hobbies completely defined me, when in actuality, these quote-unquote interests directly reflected those of my social group. Instead of focusing on the adjustment to a more structured academic environment and how I could use school to explore my authenticity, I was too focused on my Fortnite KD and arguing with Noah Shacknai about what it really means to be a hypebeast in 2017. I somehow got through my underclassmen years of high school, content with my social standing, but I had little to no understanding of myself or appreciation for expanding my knowledge and building curiosity. I maintained pretty average grades during this period of time. However, looking back, I'd become far too comfortable with the norm. I failed to really challenge myself, take academic risks, and learn from pivotal experiences. But more importantly, I failed to focus on any specific interests or expand upon those interests. So interested in fitting into a singular friend group and cultivating social status, I quickly developed and mimicked traits that had initially refused to define me. I developed a good group of friends, but within that success came social politics and drama, something I had been accustomed to at my old school, yet hadn't realized how universal these teenage issues are. I honestly spent most of sophomore year surprisingly detached from that group of people, without directly focusing on myself. I had deep interests in fashion, basketball, and underground rap music. However, I had yet to take the next step in exploring any ways of expressing myself within these interests. It was also during sophomore year where I reintroduced myself to digital design through Dr. Daniel's class, which introduced my motivation toward expressing myself through creative mediums. I specifically remember a project where we were assigned to create our own aesthetic of a hotel, complete with location and relevant graphics. This project really reintroduced the endless possibilities of digital design and fostered a motivation that was unparalleled. The most drastic change in my attitude and mentality occurred during my transition summer into junior year. I participated in the Outward Bound program, where I experienced a multitude of perspectives from kids and counselors all around the country. As someone who's never really traveled from the East Coast, I was nervous but open-minded. Even if their opinions and beliefs directly contrasted with my own, I was intrigued by their different experiences. Instead of focusing on living an eventful and socially dependent lifestyle, many of these kids were leading independent and knowledge-focused lifestyles. Simply put, they were curious about stuff I deemed uninteresting and potentially socially restricting. However, they could care less about my opinion. It felt great expanding my comfort zone by making connections with varying opinions and perspectives, creating mental intersections between my interests, and ideals of which I initially deemed as directly opposed to them. It was also the first time I experienced a real right Florida man who amazed me with unparalleled stories of alligators and ATVs, however, still had the nerve to try and reason the historical significance of the Confederate flag, a flag built around treason and institutional oppression. Throughout this experience, there was one other Brooklyn-based kid with whom I spent most of my time during the beginning of the trip. By the end of the trip, however, I started to spend more time with many of these foreign perspectives who communicated the importance of individuality and curiosity. I grow too accustomed with my own comfortability of letting a group define me. These self-realizations and connections had grounded and motivated me to make the most of my resources and privilege. After this experience, I put a considerable effort into redefining myself through developing a stronger sense of self. I chose to let my expanding knowledge and active projects define me without verbally broadcasting them. I understood that not everyone would understand or appreciate my art. Simply, why do I need to be liked by the majority when I don't even like the majority? I chose to let my affirmative action and creative expression represent my confidence. Finding a way to express myself both lifted me socially and spiritually, as I realized in retrospect that I initially valued style over substance, credibility over curiosity. In many respects, my liberal bubble had limited me and held me completely unaware of a broader sensibility. I pledged to myself that I would call up this attitude and mentality entering my junior year, as I increasingly became more interested in new and different subjects, exhibiting my new fostered curiosity in infamously difficult classes like engineering and AmSurg. But more importantly, I realized how to formulate, organize, and then manifest my vision. Using this approach, I pushed myself through a curiosity-centric motivation and started a real evolution towards becoming my best self. It's important to maintain focus on what genuinely matters throughout high school, regardless of social politics and popular opinion. Knowledge and individuality reign supreme over nearly everything, especially the manifestation of one's identity into their own personal expression, whether that be creatively, artistically, whatever makes you feel comfortable and confident. I wish someone had directly told me this during my underclassmen years. However, I'm proud that I came to that realization on my own. I've realized that there are two pains in life, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret, which is a direct representation of the duality of your willpower. Are you content with the idealization of your character? If not, remember change is the only constant in life. By all means, I'm not expecting anyone to figure themselves out during high school. But only to make an effort on expanding your basis of perspectives and figuring out what works for you. Will you choose to utilize your privilege and resources or fall victim to the social pressures of high school? The choice is honestly yours.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Nate. That was a very sophisticated and insightful message, and I'm glad we got to hear it. We're going to move now to Dr. Gentile and Miss Murphy, who are going to introduce their advisee, Charlie